Hi, this is George. I did the doodle a while back, and I wanted to add some color to it. So what I'm going to do first is, in order to contain more or less the watercolor when I apply it to a controlled area, and you'll see it in a moment when I start doing it. But basically, what I'm doing now is wetting the paper with a bit of water. Now, the watercolor may go over the demarcation lines that I'm applying with the water beforehand, but it won't be that bad. And if it does, I'll show you later on how to work with it. So I'm going to use a little bit of red. See how the watercolor kind of stays put a little bit? And it doesn't bloom outward too much. Of course, I'm shaking a little bit, but that's okay. As with my doodles, I don't know what I'm going to do until I do it, but I sometimes have an idea. So we're going to experiment with a little bit of negative space as well as doodling. So negative space, as far as I understand it. Hold on 1 second, I'm going to pick up some of the red here. And if you catch it soon rather than later, although I think I was too late in catching it. Yep, but I did a little bit. Okay. So as I was saying, if you can think of the white paper as being positive space, not like good versus bad, but as a blank sheet of paper, the ink that I applied with the initial doodle defines the space within or around the positive space. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm gonna let this dry a bit and I will be back. So the easiest way to explain negative space is to show you. So this is negative, this is positive space. This is its own positive space, but you can also, by applying more paint, create another layer of the negative space. In this case, I'm using a smaller brush from Cotman. It's a number 3, but depending upon whether or not you like to work larger or smaller, you can up the point size of your brush. So by applying a little bit more pigment, you can see that this is more true, or just altering the negative space. So I'm going to do this throughout the doodle of the heart. So if you're liking the video, if you could hit the like button, that would be great, so that YouTube will share it or send it out to more people. Thank you. Now, it's not 100% dry, but for now it's okay. It's like 60% dry. Okay. And you can vary up the pigment, like by adding more water or less water. So, question of the day. Do you think that you like to use negative space within your pieces? Let me know in the description of the comment section below. So, as you can see, I'm alternating between the lighter red with the darker amounts. And the ink I used was from my Doodle art pens. As you can see, the applying of the watercolor doesn't impact the ink at all. This is why I like using Doodle art. Now I could continue using this one, but I want to go back in with my mimic brush, because it's another 6, and it covers obviously more space. And I apologize for the intermittent blurriness of the video, because apparently once my camera or phone, since I use my phone for filming, once it gets fixated on my hands, everything else becomes less important. Okay. Now this part is too much alike this. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of washing. And again, a little bit of water before I go in. This time, just going to touch it just a little bit. Wipe off the excess and the color, going back in with a clean brush. That way, kind of give it a shadow. And don't get too caught up in the way it looks, because it's going to change again. So I'm going to do the same here and here, because this is too much like that. And I apologize for the siren because I live next door, well, a block away from the fire station, so I get a lot of that in the background. So sorry about that. And going in with the pigment or the watercolor, just a little bit. Clean my brush out and apply a little bit of water into the shadow, because that way the water will force its way into the shadow area. A little bit more water. And I like the model look to it, and because it breaks up the solid looking like that. Okay. I'm going to let it dry a bit and I'll be back. So if you can see, I went over the line here, okay? What you can do is either ignore it, try to wet it again and lift it out, or you can incorporate it into your design. So I'm going to incorporate it and see how it goes. Going with my larger brush and a little bit more water so I can wet it down a little bit more. I'm not going to speak right now because I got to concentrate. And it's also reinforcing the negative space. So each time you add pigment on top of a lighter pigment, you increase the negative space. I'm going to be using this technique for here, but I want it dry a bit more. And since I want to follow a personal rule that I have of including more than one example of a pattern, I'm going to include it as well here. And I want to have this a little bit of a shadow here. Now, I'm not any means an expert in watercolor. I'm just having fun. And a bit of shadow here. The more contrast you apply to your doodle, whether it's in color or black and white, the more interest your mind or brain likes it. And of course, me being me, I can add more dimensionality until the cows come home, but you do you, and we're all going to be happy. Okay, not bad. What do you think? One of the bad things about drawing, allowing the thing I'm working on to dry, is I come up with more ways to draw something. So with this, I'm going to make a stylized rose. And instead of going in with the red that I've been using, I'm going to add a bit more contrast. Now you can use whatever you want. I'm using red and I can't say it, but crimson. So kind of like this, but a little bit different. Of course, this is just an idea of what you can do. And if you can draw roses differently, by all means, do that. What I'm trying to do is kind of do a rose. Now, if you want to go on like a website that offers free images that you can copy, go for it. Now with this part, I'm adding a bit more contrast to the actual rose. Kind of like its leaf. And there's an axiom with artists that everything goes through an ugly stage. And I gotta admit, that's true. But whether you like what you're doing or not, keep doing it, because the only way you're going to learn is by learning from your mistakes. And carrying on with the rose, I'm going to do a bud here. Okay. But I'm going to have the background a little bit darker. So I'm going to use a little bit of the blue here. Okay. And I'm going to add a shadow down here. This might not work, but it's okay. My way of thinking is the masters became masters only because they were able to go outside of their own comfort zone and experiment. So, experiment whenever you can. If nothing else, you learned that what were you trying to do maybe didn't work that time. Maybe you tried an experiment, but if you keep on experimenting, you're sure to learn more and expand your own repertoire of things that you can do. I think of the text I'm using now are kind of like doodling with watercolor. Is it the right way to use watercolor? Probably not. But as long as you're having fun, that's all that's important. So this one here, this rose, is pretty much encapsulated with a shadow, but we'll go back into it to refine it toward more detail with the rose. Okay, I'm gonna try something. It probably won't work, but that's okay. I'm going to use a little bit of yellow ochre, okay? And drop it here on the leaves and the stem. Because this is too red, and I wanted to give it a bit of more variety. I'm probably ruining it, but that's okay. When I used to paint with watercolor, I wasn't happy until I ruined a piece that I was working on at least 3 or 4 times. That way, like I said, you learn from your mistakes. Okay. But if you don't want to do this part, it's fine. And a bit of there. And unifying the So I'm gonna let that dry and come back to it a little bit. And another thing I'm going to do, and probably ruin it again, is no, well, yeah, okay. Kind of making it a purple, almost. And vary it up a little bit. I like to limit the amount of colors that I use. That way it's easier to unify a painting. If you're liking the video so far and you want to get notified when I upload another one, hit the bell notification on the subscribe button, and YouTube of may or may not notify you. It's kind of hit and miss. Okay, that's a little bit too red or blue, so go in and fix that up a little bit. Good. And when I'm done here, I'll go back with my black pen. So let's see. Sorry about that. am just adding a few iteration of a rose petal to give it more variety. I did that one because all the other hearts have something going on, except this one. This is actually the first time in post-stroke that I'm actually painting in watercolor as opposed to just concentrating on washes like this or this. So what do you think? Now, before you go, make sure you sign your work. I actually want to get rid of the pencil mark in here. But also I wanted to show you how you can incorporate some of the boo-boos. So I'm using my Uniball Signal 0.28. I used a kneaded eraser to get rid of see? And all these happy accents are now incorporated into your doodle, and nobody will be the wiser unless you tell. Because I'm not going to tell. Okay. So let's do the signature here. First one for the year. How you like it? Hope you enjoyed the video and got inspired to experiment with your watercolors and doodling. Whoops, I forgot I'm doing. No. I was going to do a little bit of black in here, but I don't think I'm going to. I think it looks okay the way it is. What do you think? All right. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.